Picture the map glowing on a war room wall. Seas in every direction, mountains stacked like shark teeth, islands scattered like caltrops across blue water. Someone clears their throat and says, "So we'll just land here." And that's when the map starts laughing. Because on paper, Greece looks like a vacation. In reality, it's a fortress with a sense of humor. Rock, water, wind, and people who have been perfecting the art of you shall not pass since long before there was a word for logistics. This is not the place you blitz. This is where armies get tired, navies go missing, and air forces discover that owning the sky is not the same thing as surviving in it. If you want a one-sentence version, invading Greece is like trying to win a marathon while carrying a refrigerator, uphill, in flip-flops, with a goat judging your life choices from a cliffside. Let's set the scene. The backbone of Greece is the Pindus range, a jagged mountain spine running north-south that breaks the country into hard little bowls and high passes. It doesn't just dominate the mainland, it actually continues underwater and pops back up as island chains. The result is a battle space that never gives you a straight line. Every road is a compromise, every pass a gift that defenders can take away. The Vale of Tempe, the narrow artery between Olympus and Ossa, has been strategic for 2,500 years, precisely because it squeezes an invader into a corridor you can close with a company and a bad mood. Today, the geography still does the heavy lifting. Roughly 4/5 of Greece is mountainous. Armies don't maneuver here, they negotiate with stone. Then there's the water. The Aegean isn't a sea so much as a chessboard where the pieces are booby-trapped. Greece owns a staggering number of islands, thousands, with around a couple hundred inhabited, forming picket lines, ambush pockets, and overlapping fields of radar, missiles, and very unfriendly eyes. Take off your tourist hat and look at those beautiful Cyclades the way a planner does, as a layered barricade across which every amphibious wave must pass under observation and fire. If you like checkers, invade Belgium. If you like losing at 3D chess, try the Aegean. And the sea itself fights you. In summer, the meltemi winds slam down the Aegean like an invisible hammer, gusts ripping masts and nerves, shutting ferries, turning neat landing timetables into slapstick. Your landing craft becomes seasick opinions, your helicopters earn hazard pay, and your fragile logistics schedule blows across the water like confetti. Mother Nature is Greece's most experienced air defense officer. She is punctual, opinionated, and arrives every year. Now, let's talk defenders. On land, Greece anchors its eastern approach with the Evros River. Marshes, channels, floodplains, and a long, increasingly fortified fence where the map goes from maybe to no. Bridging there means fighting the river, the mud, the weather, and every anti-tank team within radio range. The ground barely cooperates with smugglers. It does not roll out a red carpet for armoured brigades. Add modern surveillance and a growing lattice of missiles, the sort of rocket wall Athens has openly described for the islands, and you get a border that eats tempo for breakfast. At sea, the Hellenic Navy plays porcupine. Its Roussen-class fast attack craft are small, mean, and crammed with exocet missiles. They lurk among rocks and capes and pop out to swat anything arrogant enough to look like a surface action group. These Super Vita boats carry Block 2/3 exosets already, with newer Block 3C variants joining the party. Longer reach, nastier seeker, and land attack options. It's the difference between go away and I can reach out and remind your logistics hub why it should respect distance. Under the waves, the conversation turns from difficult to ugly. Greece's Type 214 air-independent propulsion submarines, the Patriot-class, are built for exactly this kind of littoral knife fight. They can sit quiet for days, shove a torpedo into the ribs of an invasion convoy, and vanish back into a maze of islands, while your admiral calls his therapist. With an upgraded Type 209 AIP boat and additional 209s still prowling, the bottom of the Aegean becomes a no-confidence vote in your shipping plan. If your invasion depends on rolling stock arriving as scheduled, congratulations, you've invented a maritime horror story. In the air, Athens has spent the last few years tearing the "we'll take the skies by lunch" page straight out of an invader's playbook. 24 Rafale F-3R fighters now fly from Tanagra. adding long-range sensors and Meteor-class reach to a fleet of F-16s being hauled up to the Viper standard. New radar, avionics, and networking that turn each jet into a flying sensor node. Pair that with long-standing Patriot batteries and legacy systems that have given the island of Crete a reputation as a very educational place to fly near, and the result is a layered sky you have to earn, not assume.
And that's before we talk ships with umbrellas. Greece's new Belhara/FD-1 frigates, Roussen-class, bring high-end sensors and air defense missiles to the blue water, and the choke points between island groups, with optional cruise missiles that make operational planners sweat through their shirts. It's one thing to dodge coastal missiles. It's another thing entirely when the defender can also fire back from a modern frigate, while its submarines erase your resupply. In the Aegean, range rings overlap like chainmail. Your routes narrow until they look like regrets. How fast can Greece shift its own infantry and armour across that harsh geography? Faster than an invader wants. The 32nd Marines Brigade exists for one reason: to put hard men with heavy weapons onto islands quickly, and it trains constantly with Allied Marines who also live for salt spray and bad weather. The Navy's amphibious arm runs Jason-class LSTs and big Zuber hovercraft that can cross water like a bar fight crosses a room. In a crisis, that network stitches islands together, reinforcing garrisons, backfilling shot-up units, and turning the Aegean from a checkerboard into a conveyor belt of counterattack. Zoom out and look at alliances, because in the Eastern Med, you never fight just one flag. Crete's Suda Bay is not merely picturesque, it is a NATO spinal cord, a deep-water pier, an all-weather airfield, a place where very large ships park and very fast jets don't ask permission to leave. The US-Greece Defense Pact, updated in 2019 and 2021, opened more doors, made key ports like Alexandroupolis a logistics superhighway, and tied Athens tighter into Allied planning from the Black Sea to the Levant. Try to cut Greece off, and you'll discover the opposite. Friends arrive faster than your estimates and with better snacks. There's also a French connection with legal teeth. Athens and Paris inked a defense pact in 2021 that includes mutual assistance. Translation: if you start something, there's a decent chance a French frigate will finish it for you, while a Rafale writes your after-action report in vapor trails. Greece's modernization spree, Rafales, frigates, exocet upgrades, isn't just shopping. It's a doctrine powered by partnerships. You're not facing a lone porcupine. You're facing a porcupine who shares phone plans with very large carnivores. History offers its own warning labels. In 1941, the Metaxas Line, 21 fortress complexes in the northern mountains, delayed a German army that was supposed to be in Athens by dinner time. That defense failed only because the main Greek army was still busy beating the Italians in the west, and the Germans did what invaders always do when met with a wall: went around it. The point isn't that fixed lines win wars, it's that Greek terrain, fortified, makes time a weapon. Time for reserves to move, time for allies to arrive, time for your short war to turn into therapy. Then came Crete. The island fell, yes, but at a cost that stunned Berlin. The first great airborne invasion in history succeeded only after catastrophic losses to elite paratroops, suicidal sorties by transport aircraft, and weeks of savage resistance by regulars and civilians. The lesson wasn't Crete can be taken. The lesson was Greece makes victory hurt so much that sane people don't try it twice. Swap 1941 Stukas for 2020's drones and precision munitions, and that lesson holds. Airborne drops onto defended islands still demand massive air supremacy, immaculate logistics, and a little bit of divine intervention. The Aegean doesn't do favors. Let's fold in the part planners hate: sustainment. If you're the invader, you must feed a machine across seas haunted by AIP submarines, through straits covered by mobile coastal missiles, under skies where Greek fighters and SAMs are having an outstanding day, while the weather keeps asking, "Are you sure?" You need ports, which are watched, mapped, and, if necessary, closed. You need airfields, which sit under radar nets and the business end of standoff weapons.
You need a logistics miracle every day. The defender needs one torpedo and a public relations department. Ask your quartermaster if his heart rate just went up. And the islands themselves aren't soft targets. Corps-level island commands with mechanized National Guard brigades, artillery, and anti-armor teams exist to turn beaches into history lessons. Increasingly, those teams are being rearmed with modern precision missiles that love boats, don't mind bad weather, and can pop out from anywhere a pickup truck can hide. Athens has been explicit about building a wall of rockets across the Aegean. Invasion fleets dream about it at night, and not in a good way.
Meanwhile, the Air Force isn't just adding shiny jets, it's networking them. Rafales talk to Vipers, Vipers talk to ships, ships queue missiles, and submarines finish sentences. That creates a kill chain that wraps around the archipelago like a net. Long before your landing craft sees sand, they've been seen, categorized, targeted, and scheduled for disappointment. Throw in Patriots for high-altitude cover, and the well-known Please Respect Crete radar environment, and suddenly, your air assault plan looks less like an arrow and more like a question mark. A quick word about Suda Bay again, because invaders keep pretending it's just a dot. It's not. It's NATO's Eastern Med hub, deep-water berths, quick-turn jet ops, and logistics pipelines that let Allied reinforcements slide into the theatre like they had a reservation. If you try to isolate Greece, you'll find you've isolated your own narrative instead. If you try to blockade Crete, you'll meet people who studied Mahan, brought friends, and aren't shy. Let's season this with humour, because Greece will. The famous goat on a vertical cliff, that's a reconnaissance specialist. The grandmother waving a ladle from a balcony, that's morale warfare. The meltemi that strands your landing wave, that's the Air Force's unpaid intern. And the island taverna where your special forces try to blend in, they don't. You can't disappear in a village that knows every boat by the sound of its engine. Greece is small enough to mobilize fast, and intimate enough that strangers glow in the social radar like flares. Consider that your human terrain briefing. Modernization isn't slowing down. The F-16 Viper upgrades continue, pushing AESA radar and better data links into the fleet. The Rafale squadron now sits at full strength. The first of the new Kimon-class frigates is entering service, with the rest close behind. And Athens keeps refreshing the Exocet stockpile to the latest blocks. The through line is simple. Make the archipelago lethal at range, mobile on demand, and connected across domains. That's the kind of investment that compounds.
Allies amplify everything. US access agreements turned Alexandroupolis from a provincial port into a NATO railhead to the Balkans and beyond, with priority access baked into updates of the Defense Pact. If you're invading, you're not just tackling Greece, you're also trying to outpace a pipeline that can dump armoured brigades onto rail in a long weekend. You're racing a logistics machine that has already rehearsed the route. Don't trip. So, if for some reason you still sketch arrows toward Athens, what exactly is your theory of victory? You can't punch straight up the Evros without hemorrhaging combat power and time. You can't surf across the Aegean without getting whittled by missiles and submarines. You can't gamble on airborne coup de main when the weather and the radar both hate you. And you cannot keep your fleet supplied in a literal maze where the defender chooses the hour and the angle. Here's the quieter killer: political risk.
Greece is NATO. Greece has a bilateral defense pact with France. Greece has US infrastructure on its soil that speeds Allied responses. An invasion doesn't just trigger Greek defenses. It sets off a Rube Goldberg machine of treaties, phone calls, and hulls changing course. That's deterrence made real, not just by promises, but by concrete, steel, and runways with familiar tail flashes parked on them. And if you need a historian to sign off, they'll point out that outsiders have tried to storm Greek geography before. The names change: Persians, Romans, Ottomans, Axis, but the pattern endures. Success requires overwhelming superiority, exquisite logistics, and a tolerance for pain that looks a lot like madness. Even then, the bill comes due in mountains and on islands where locals don't scare, and where victory at the beach means months of thankless patrolling in goat country. The taverna will serve you, sure. It will not surrender.
So yes, you can draft a plan to invade Greece. You can brief it in a crisp suit, print colourful arrows and applaud your staff work.
But the moment that plan meets the Pindus, the meltemi, the islands, the submarines, the Rafales, the Patriots, the Marines, the grandmothers and the treaties, it will realise something profound. Greece isn't just a place, it's a defence concept with beaches, a riddle written in granite and salt. And if you're still tempted, answer one question first. Are you prepared to fight a country, a sea, a wind, a mountain range, and half of NATO all at once? Because that's what invading Greece really means.